Hello, welcome to another vlog. So in today's vlog, I'm going to be going over whether or not you should consider getting a Camaro, specifically a 2010 Camaro V6 RS edition. But before we get into that, we're gonna open this package. All right, we're gonna use this plastic knife just so we don't damage anything. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna need 2 hands for this. We got 2 of them, boys. We got 1. We got 2. We're not gonna need this trash anymore. So here's what we got. Here's a little sneak peek. If you guys see that and you've watched our channel, you're gonna know exactly what this is. But let's reveal it. Powered by DDE. Yes sir, we got the Compton Racing Club. Live fast, life is too short to drive boring cars, powered by DDE. 2012. So we finally got some more merch. I already have some merch from previous drops, but we went ahead and took advantage of their buy one get one free. So that means I got one and Sam's got one too, my wife. And I honestly like the quality so far. So we got matching hoodies. So on the front side, it says Compton Racing Club. Life is too short to drive boring cars, all rights reserved. 2012, we already know that. But this is honestly really nice. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go shower because I just got a haircut and then we're gonna get into the video. All right, I'm back. So we're gonna go get some food because I'm hungry. I think I'm gonna get mi ranchito. And this fool's gonna stay by himself. You gonna be good? You gonna behave? You're not gonna go potty in the house? You're gonna wait there, okay? Wait. All right, let's go. I got this car in December of 2021, and fast forward to today, it is now August of 2025. So I've had the car almost 4 years now, and to give you more perspective on how experienced I am with this car, I daily drive my car. So I drive to and from work, to the grocery store, to my parents' home, to Willow Springs. I use it for everything. And on top of being a daily driver, I do use this car about 2 to 3 times a year for the past 3 years at Willow Springs, taking it on track on Big Willow and basically pushing it to its limits, which does mean that it puts a little bit of extra wear and tear on the car, but we still go anyways. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. So let's start with comfort. Comfort wise, this car is super comfortable. The car is stock suspension, so I haven't changed anything in terms of that. And because I have the RS edition, the car does ride on 20-inch wheels with a staggered setup, which translates to 275 40 20 on the back and 245 45 20 on the fronts. Comfort wise, like I said, super comfortable. I've taken this car on long road trips and I have not had any complaints whatsoever. My car does have heated seats and it does have the leather option, which on my car is upgraded to catskin leather. Super soft leather, is pretty new. I love it. I actually feel less of a harsh ride on this car compared to the first car that I owned, which was a 2006 Honda Civic that now my brother Diego owns. Now let's get into the daily drive aspect of it. So the car currently is averaging 15.6 miles per gallon, which for me translates to filling up about twice a month, maybe 2.5 times a month. And on this car specifically, with the price of gas, it takes about 75 bucks to get a full tank. Let me do a chicken enchilada combo plate, and can I get a large horchata? There you go, you guys know my mi ranchito order. So yeah, my car takes 75 bucks to fill up the gas tank. I don't remember the full tank capacity, but for me, it always tops off at 16 gallons, which I think mine holds close to 20 gallons at the absolute max capacity. So that being said, I spend an average of $160, and I would say up to $180 if I do end up driving a little bit more than my normal. Quirks wise, the car really doesn't have many quirks. I get a pretty nice package with the RS edition of this car, and because mine is the RS edition, I get the cool gauges. I get a Boston Acoustics premium audio system, which is pretty bassy and pretty clear for being a sound system from 2010. I've got a sunroof. I've got nice HID headlights with the snake eyes, I like to call it. But yeah, my car comes stock with HID headlights and slightly tinted brake lights from factory. Exterior wise, that's the most special aspect of the RS edition, aside of having a more premium color option, which in my case, I have an Imperial Blue Metallic, which you cannot get on base models unless you paint it aftermarket. And the only mods that I've done myself is I added carbon TR mufflers in place of the old stock ones. I used to call them the suitcases because of how big they were, and now the new ones are a lot lighter and they sound nice. And I also added a volant intake, which there is a vlog on that, so if you would like to see the installation of that, go ahead and check out the other videos on my channel. I'm gonna go ahead and link it up here if you want to check that out. And last but not least, I added a wing, which I mentioned in Diego's bumper vlog, where I took a factory SS wing off a 5th gen Camaro that originally came Cayman Rally Yellow that I paint matched to my car to be able to match the Imperial Blue Metallic. Alright, now that I'm back home, one thing I did forget to talk about was tracking the car at Willow Springs. I've been able to push the car to its limits on that track. I've pushed it to its grip limits, I've pushed it to its speed limits, and the fastest time that I was able to get at Big Willow is 1 minute and 55 seconds. And again, that is all stock suspension, all season tires, but I ended up having a lot of fun, and I would end up recommending it to anybody. The faster I went, the car did end up having a little bit of understeer, but regardless, it handled pretty good, and I can only imagine what it would be like with lowering springs, maybe some thicker sway bars, and some grippier tires, but maybe that'll be for another video. We're about to eat real good. Look at those chicken enchiladas, along with the horchata. And then if you look closely, I got this guy eyeing my food, waiting to see if I'll give him anything, but thankfully he doesn't beg. Alright, now let's get into the stuff that kind of hurts your wallet. As far as this car goes, it hasn't given me any major problems. The first thing that ended up going on my car was the thermostat. So I ended up starting with the water pump. That costed me $60 for an OEM AC Delco water pump. Put it back together, drove it around, and I still had cooling issues. In my case, my car didn't end up overheating all the time. It would mainly stay cool all the time, but then there were times that it would overheat, which is why I started with the water pump. After I realized that the water pump did not fix the issue, then I went to the dreaded thermostat. The thermostat isn't an expensive part. The thing that made it dreadful was that my thermostat sits on the back side of the engine near the firewall, passenger side, and it is impossible to get any tools or even your hand back there. I think the easiest way to get to it would be under the car, but I worked on it in a garage, so I had to do it the hard way and went through the top of the engine and ended up taking a couple of hours just to replace the itty bitty part, which that only costed me maybe like 20 bucks if I remember correctly. And I can confidently say that job is probably the worst job I've done to date. So much so that I ended up having my dad help me with the project because it was just taking me too long, and he has more experience than I do, so he knew a couple tips and tricks, but we got it done. 1 out of 10, do not recommend. If it ever goes out again, I might just pay the $400 for the shop to replace it where they've got lifts, and I won't have to worry about it. So timeline wise, the coolant issues ended up happening about a year after I got the car, so December of 2022, and then that's been it as far as repairs for a while. Now fast forward to 2025, earlier this year, my radiator ended up going out. It was leaking from the top, which I do have a video on that as well on my Instagram, but the top ended up leaking, so I just ended up replacing the whole radiator. And in this same year, which is the most recent repair I had to do, that ended up happening 2 months ago, was my fuel injectors went out, which did not let me drive the car for a couple of days. So I ended up replacing bank 5 fuel injector. That fixed the issue for a little bit, and then literally the next day, fuel injector 3 ended up going out. So then I replaced that, and since then I've had no fuel problems, and I'm able to daily drive the car again, take it to work, and it drives perfect. But it wasn't too bad of a job, but I would rate that 7 out of 10 if you have the right tools for the job, because that makes it a lot quicker and more efficient. So cost wise, I didn't include maintenance, so like oil changes, tires, and stuff like that, because that's just routine stuff that any car has to do anyways. I guess I'll just get into it really quick. Tires, I ended up getting Continental DWS 06 Pluses, which have been amazing all season tires, really grippy. They ended up costing $1,200 out the door. Oil changes cost me about $60, and I get 5W50 full synthetic Mobil 1 oil with the filter because my generation Camaro, specifically on these V6 Camaros, deal with oil dilution issues along with burning some oil, which ended up dropping the oil level after a couple of weeks. So I end up having to use about a quart between each oil change. Other than that, maintenance wise or repair wise, not really that big of a deal, and that's in 4 years of use, daily driving, and tracking the car 2 to 3 times a year at Willow Springs. But yeah, overall, I would recommend the car to anybody. Even though it is a V6, doesn't have as much power as a V8, I would say it's a perfect balance of a daily driver, more than enough horsepower to pass daily traffic, have a little bit of fun with it, but still meet that criteria of having a semi-reliable car that isn't too bad on gas and reliability. If you would like to see the car in action, so driving POV, exhaust noises, all that fun stuff, go ahead and check out what I consider to be my best vlog today, titled Willow Springs Got Sold, We Had to Send It One Last Time. That one's gonna give you a GoPro POV on the side of my helmet, along with some external shots by my beautiful wife, who ended up going and recording some footage for us. And also be sure to check out the Instagram, where I do post some videos, and if you scroll through there, you'll be able to see a couple of clips of my Camaro, such as the fuel injector fix, carbon exhaust sound. But this was a short vlog, only a couple minutes. I've just been meaning to put this video out. It was short, chill vibes, but hope you enjoyed it. And please consider subscribing, checking out the other videos, and following for more. Until next time, drive hard, drive safe, and peace.